Hey guys, good evening and welcome back. Welcome back again to your Unacademy NEET English channel. I believe all of you are doing great, having a good time. So people, quickly, let me know in the chats if all of you can hear me, if I'm perfectly audible and visible to every one of you. Let me know quickly in the chats with some fire emojis if all of you can hear me, if I'm perfectly audible, visible to everyone. Yeah? Let me know quickly in the chats, people. Let me know quickly in the chats with some fire emojis if all of you can hear me, if I'm perfectly audible and visible to every one of you. Well, I would want you guys to call up all your friends because this session is going to be super duper important when it comes to the NEET 2025 chemistry. And my dear students, after watching this particular session completely, let me assure you one thing. Whatever graphs are there in chemistry, you will be able to draw all the graphs on your own. Yeah? Okay? So quickly, give me some green signal from the chats. Give me some fire emojis in the chat so that I'll get to know I'm perfectly audible, as well as I'll get to know whether you guys are super duper excited about this particular session or not. Yeah? Perfect, people. Perfect, 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 perfect. Just give me a second and we shall be starting. Just give me a second and we shall be starting. Perfect, people. Perfect, perfect. So, let's get going then. Let's get started without wasting any sort of time. Let's see exactly how do we play with the graphs. Yeah? Let's see exactly how do we play with the graphs. My dear students, the first thing which I want you guys to do right now. See, first of all, I'm going to show you some basic graphs which we frequently use in chemistry. And once you are familiar with those graphs, then you will see we will be able to draw all the graphs on our own. Okay? So, let's start. Wassim sir, electrochemistry ka class 2. Electrochemistry is already there in the playlist. You can check the playlist, go to the Game of NEET. Electrochemistry I have taught almost in 9-10 hours. Check that video. That is a detailed video of electrochemistry. Yeah? Okay? So let's get going, people. Let's get going and let's get started. First of all, my dear students, I'm pretty much sure you would have come across this particular equation once in your life. Y is equal to mx. Y is equal to mx. Yeah, I'm pretty much sure once in your lifetime you would have come across this particular equation. Y is equal to mx, right? My dear students, remember, whenever you need to plot a graph between y and x, for the equation y is equal to mx, you must be knowing, or if you do not know, remember from now onwards, the nature of the graph is going to be, the straight line passing through the origin. It is going to be the straight line passing through the origin. Whenever you see the equation of this format, y is equal to mx, and you will have to plot a curve between y and x, right? The nature of the curve is simply going to be a straight line passing through the origin. Point number one, which you will be remembering from now onwards. Yeah? Now, look at this m over here. What is this m called? This m is something which you call a slope. This m is something which you call a slope. And what is slope exactly? Slope is nothing. It is just tan of theta. It is just tan of theta. Now the point is, what is this theta first of all? Theta is basically the angle which this curve makes with the positive x-axis in the anti-clockwise direction. So this is theta basically. This is theta. If you know this theta value, take the tan of this theta, that exactly gives you the slope of the curve. My dear students, for example, you have got the equation like this, y is equal to 3x. Let's say you have got the equation like this, y is equal to 3x. And for example, you want to plot a graph between y and x. You want to plot a graph between y and x. For the equation, y is equal to 3x. First of all, don't you think this y is equal to 3x is resembling with y is equal to mx? Yes, absolutely. These two are resembling, right? Look at the things. This is y, this is y. This is x, this is x. That means m value over here is 3. M value over here is 3. So first of all, since this particular y is equal to 3x is resembling with your y is equal to mx, and you already know for y is equal to mx, the graph has to be a straight line passing through origin, right? Now, my dear students, the m value is 3. M value is 3. That means slope is equal to 3. If slope is equal to 3, that means tan of theta value is equal to 3. If tan of theta is equal to 3, that means theta has to be tan inverse 3 over here, right? Theta has to be tan inverse 3 over here. I believe this is super clear to everyone. Yeah? I believe this is super clear to everyone. So first of all, remember the equation y is equal to mx. Straight line passing through origin. M is something which you call a slope. Slope is nothing but tan of theta. What is theta exactly? Theta is the angle which the curve makes with the positive x-axis in the anti-clockwise direction. Right? This is our graph number 1, which you are going to remember from now onwards. Yeah? Number 1. Number 2, my dear students. Number 2. I'm pretty much sure you would have come across the equation y is equal to mx plus c. Have you heard about this equation? Y is equal to mx plus c. So first of all, my dear students, you should be knowing this m over here. What do I call this as? I call this as slope. What is this c over here? This c is something which we call as intercept. The c is something which we call as intercept, right? C is something which we call as intercept. Now, first of all, if I want to plot a graph between y and x, for the equation y is equal to mx plus c, first of all, the nature of the curve is again going to be a straight line. The nature of the curve is again going to be a straight line. But the straight line won't be starting from the origin. The straight line won't be starting from the origin. It will start above the origin. Because there is an intercept c over here. There is an intercept c over here. The straight line, for example, will be starting from here, and then it's going to be the same. Correct? My dear students, the distance from the origin till the point from where the graph starts. The distance from the origin till the point from where the graph starts. I'm talking about this distance. This is denoted by c. This is denoted by c over here, right? And if I talk about m, what is m? M is slope. What is slope? Tan of theta. What is theta? Theta is the angle which this straight line makes with the positive x-axis in the anti-clockwise direction. So this is theta over here. Okay, this is theta over here. Right, people? I just need to turn few lights off. There are some electricity issues going on, right? I hope this is also clear to you. Okay? Just a second, people. Just a second. Yeah, I hope this works. Just a second. Will this work? Is it fine? Is it fine, guys? Just tell me that. Just a second. Let me fix certain issues here. I think it will work, right? Yeah? It has to work. Yeah? It has to work. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Right. So basically, whenever you see the equation of the format y is equal to mx plus c, the nature of the curve is going to be a straight line. but this straight line won't be starting from the origin. It will start above the origin, right? The distance from the origin till the point from where the curve starts, that's something which you call as intercept, which is denoted by c. Perfect. For example, people. For example, let's say you have got the equation in this format. Y is equal to 3x plus 5. Y is equal to 3x plus 5. My dear students, don't you think this particular equation, y is equal to 3x plus 5, don't you think it's resembling with y is equal to mx plus c? Absolutely, it's resembling with y is equal to mx plus c. If you compare these two equations, I can clearly say m value over here is 3, m value over here is 3, and c value over here is 5. C value over here is 5, right? For example, I want to plot a graph. I want to plot a graph between y and x. I want to plot a graph between y and x for the equation y is equal to 3x plus 5. Since we already got to know y is equal to 3x plus 5, it is resembling with your y is equal to mx plus c. So the nature of the curve again has to be a straight line, and that straight line won't be starting from the origin. That will start above the origin, for example, from here, right? So this is going to be the straight line. Perfect. The distance from the origin till the point from where the graph starts, that is something which you call as intercept. Intercept is denoted by c, and c value over here is 5. C value over here is 5, right? Since m value is 3 means tan of theta is equal to 3. If tan of theta is equal to 3, that means theta has to be equal to tan inverse 3. What is theta? You already know it. Theta is basically the angle which this curve makes with the positive x-axis in the anti-clockwise direction. So this is theta here, and its value already we have calculated. That is theta is equal to tan inverse of 3. Perfect. I believe this is also clear to everyone. I believe this is also clear to everyone. Yes? Now, my dear students, the third equation which I would want you guys to remember from now onwards, y is equal to mx minus c. Y is equal to mx minus c. Whenever you see this particular equation, y is equal to mx minus c, and for example, you need to plot a graph between y and x. Between y and x for the equation y is equal to mx minus c. Remember, again the nature of the curve is going to be a straight line. Again the nature of the curve is going to be a straight line. Now here we have got an intercept. Whenever there is intercept, that straight line never starts from the origin. That straight line never starts from the origin. Look at the sign of intercept. It's negative. That means the straight line will be starting down the origin. It will be starting down the origin. For example, this is the origin. Yes, this is the origin. Let me extend this y-axis a bit. Perfect. Since, first of all, the graph has to be a straight line, right? But the straight line won't be starting exactly from the origin. It will start down the origin. For example, it's starting from here. It is starting from here. Then it's going to be a straight line like this. Okay? For example, you have got the equation y is equal to 5x minus 3. Y is equal to 5x minus 3. And let's say you need to plot a graph between y and x. First of all, this particular equation is resembling our equation y is equal to mx minus c. So if I need to plot a graph between y and x over here, so it has to be a straight line, and that straight line won't be starting from the origin. That will start down the origin, right? Let's say from here, then it will go up like this, right? Perfect. If I ask you, what is going to be the theta over here? Theta is the angle which the graph with the straight line makes with the positive x-axis in the anti-clockwise direction. This is theta, right? So directly I can say theta is nothing but tan inverse 5. Theta is nothing but tan inverse 5. So equation of the format y is equal to mx minus c. I believe this is also clear. Moving on to the fourth equation. Y is equal to minus mx plus c. This is again one equation which frequently you will see in chemistry. Y is equal to minus mx plus c. My dear students, look at one thing. The slope over here is negative. In this particular equation, slope is positive. In this equation, slope is positive. Slope positive means tan of theta positive. And tan theta is positive when theta is acute. right? So over here, slope is positive. Tan theta is positive. That means theta has to be acute. Is theta acute here? Yes, theta is acute. Slope positive. That means tan theta positive. That means theta has to be acute. Theta is acute here, right? Theta is acute here. Similarly, slope positive. That means tan of theta has to be positive. Tan of theta has to be positive. So theta has to be acute. Look here. Is theta acute here? Yes, theta is acute here. Theta is acute. Now look here. Y is equal to minus mx plus c, right? So slope is negative. Slope negative means tan of theta negative. Tan theta negative means theta has to be obtuse here. Theta has to be obtuse here, right? Theta has to be obtuse. So first of all, if you need to plot a graph between y and x, if you need to plot a graph between y and x, first of all, again, the nature of the curve is going to be a straight line. Again, the nature of the curve is going to be a straight line, but there is an intercept. So straight line, there is an intercept, and intercept has got over here, there's a plus sign. So the straight line will start above the origin. For example, from here. And we already know theta has to be what? Theta has to be obtuse. That means this has to be a straight line. If this is a straight line, then only I can say this is your theta, which is coming out to be obtuse. The distance from the origin till the point from where the graph starts, what do you call that as? You call that as intercept, which is denoted by C. Correct? As simple as that. My dear students, for example, you have got the equation like this. Y is equal to minus 5x plus 3. Y is equal to minus 5x plus 3. Let's say for this particular equation, you need to plot a graph. You need to plot a graph between y and x. You need to plot a graph between y and x. First of all, try to understand one thing. Can I say this particular equation, y is equal to minus 5x plus 3? Can I say it is resembling with y is equal to minus mx plus c? Absolutely, it's resembling with y is equal to minus mx plus c. And you already know, for y is equal to minus mx plus c, the nature of the curve is going to be a straight line. Intercept is positive, but theta has to be obtuse here, right? So I believe this is clear. So start the graph from here, then like this. So this is your theta over here. This is your theta over here, right? Perfect. Tan of theta is minus 5. Tan of theta is minus 5. So theta is equal to tan inverse minus 5. Tan inverse minus 5. Perfect. The distance from the origin till the point from where the curve starts, that's what you call as intercept, which is denoted by C. And C value, when you compare, it comes out to be 3 units over here. As simple as that. Yeah? Is that clear? Is that clear, people? Is that clear? Is that clear? Let me know once in the chats. So this is your y is equal to minus mx plus c. This is your y is equal to minus mx plus c. The fifth equation, whenever you see equation of this format, xy is equal to constant, or I can say y is equal to k divided by x. Y is equal to k divided by x. For example, you need to plot a graph. You need to plot a graph between y and x. Let's say you need to plot a graph between y and x. Okay? You need to plot a graph between y and x. Remember, my dear students, whenever you need to plot a graph between two variables which are inversely proportional to each other, whenever you need to plot a graph between two variables which are inversely proportional to each other, over here, x and y, they are inversely proportional to each other, the nature of the curve is going to be the rectangular hyperbola. It neither touches the y-axis nor it touches the x-axis, right? And this particular graph is what you call as rectangular. This is what you call as rectangular hyperbola. This is what you call as rectangular hyperbola. Frequently, you will be using this particular graph in chemistry as well, right? Perfect, people. Oh, Prince Raj is saying, sir, by God's grace and with your help, cracked NEET 2024. Congratulations. Wonderful. Amazing. Yeah. God bless you. I believe, guys, this is perfectly clear to you. So, what I want you guys to do, just remember these graphs. Y is equal to mx, y is equal to mx plus c, y is equal to mx minus c, y is equal to minus mx plus c, y is equal to k divided by x, right? These graphs you are supposed to remember. I believe you can easily make all the graphs in chemistry. I believe you can easily make all the graphs in chemistry, people, right? And let me show you one by one how come easily you can make all the graphs. But before that, For example, you see an equation y is equal to e raised power x. Y is equal to e raised power x. And for this particular equation, you need to make a graph between y and x. Between y and x, right? For the equation y is equal to e raised power x, the graph has to be exponential increase. It has to be exponential increase. Like this, you will show it. Exponentially, it will be increasing. And this is the graph for the equation y is equal to e raised power x. Okay, y is equal to e raised power x. Similarly, my dear students, for example, you come across this particular equation. Y is equal to e raised power minus x. And you will have to make a graph between y and x. You will have to make a graph between y and x. By the way, in chemistry, we make all the graphs in the first quadrant, right? Okay, that's why I'm showing all the graphs in the first quadrant itself. Okay, I'm not showing the other quadrants here, right? In chemistry, we basically make 99.9% curves in the first quadrant itself. We have got nothing to do with other quadrants. Yeah, I hope you know that already. Perfect. Y is equal to e raised power minus x. It's going to be exponentially decreasing. Exponentially decreasing like this. Exponentially decreasing like this. Okay? Exponentially decreasing like this. This is for y is equal to e raised power minus x. So people, you just have to remember these graphs. Now let's exactly see how we can easily make the graphs in chemistry. Whatever graphs are required in chemistry, we can easily make them. Okay? One by one. One by one. First of all, I believe you must have heard about the Boyle's law. Have you heard about Boyle's law? Right? Boyle's law you would have heard. As per Boyle's law is concerned, P is equal to K divided by V, where K is a constant. P is pressure of the ideal gas. Let's say V is the volume of the ideal gas. Right? Pressure and volume, they are inversely proportional to each other. They are inversely proportional to each other, right? Keeping moles and temperature constant. I'm not going to go into the details. I just have to show you how to draw the graphs, right? For example, this is the equation. This is the equation. P is equal to K divided by V. My dear students, if they ask you, what has to be the nature of the curve between pressure and volume? What will be your answer? P is equal to K by V. P is equal to K by V. Pressure and volume, they are inversely proportional to each other. If pressure and volume are inversely proportional to each other, I told you already, whenever you need to make a curve between two variables, whenever you need to plot a curve between two variables which are inversely proportional to each other, the nature of the curve is going to be the rectangular hyperbola. So this is the hyperbola here. Simple. Done and dusted, right? Done and dusted. For example, let's say you have to draw a graph between, let's say you have to draw the graph between P by V versus 1 by V ka square. Versus 1 by V ka square, right? Let's say you have to draw a graph between P by V versus 1 by V ka square. First of all, this P by V you are plotting along y-axis. 1 by V ka square you are plotting along x-axis. What is our given equation? Given equation is P is equal to K by V, or I can say K multiplied by 1 by V. Like this I can represent it. This is my equation. P is equal to K divided by V. Now, first of all, along y-axis, what am I plotting? Along y-axis, I am plotting P by V. But over here, I will just have P. So how do I make P by V over here? What I'll be doing? I'll be dividing this equation throughout by volume V, right? I'll be dividing this equation throughout by volume V so that it becomes P by V is equal to 1 by V ka square, right? Now people try to understand. This P by V, you are plotting along y-axis. So instead of P by V, I'm writing y is equal to 1 by V square. 1 by V square, you are plotting along x-axis. So instead of this 1 by V ka square, you are writing x. Okay? This K is basically your M. Y is equal to mx. Y is equal to mx. You know it already. It's a straight line passing through origin. Done and dusted. Yeah? Perfect, people. Done and dusted. Okay, one graph I forgot to tell you. Just remember that as well. That is going to be the 8th graph. For example, you have got the equation y is equal to k x square. Y is equal to kx square, right? Y is equal to kx square. Tell me, what is going to be the nature of the curve? Y is equal to kx square. Y is equal to kx square. Tell me, you should be knowing it. You would have studied it once in your lifetime for sure. Y is equal to kx square. Tell me the nature of the graph between y and x. Tell me the nature of the graph between y and x. What is it going to be? Quickly, people, quickly in the chats, everyone. Quickly in the chats. I just want to know. I just want to know. I just want to know quickly. Exactly. It's going to be parabola opening upwards here. It's going to be parabola opening upwards, right? I'm just showing the graph in the first quadrant, right? I have got nothing to do with the other quadrants. Perfect, people. Y is equal to kx square. Graph between y and x. It's going to be parabola opening upwards. Remember this. Okay. All right. For example, people, I need to plot a curve between P by V versus 1 by V. P by V versus 1 by V. Earlier, it was P by V versus 1 by V ka square. Here, I need to plot a graph between P by V versus 1 by V. So what is my equation, which I already know? That is P is equal to K multiplied by 1 by V. Yes. But along y-axis, what am I plotting? Along y-axis, what am I plotting? I'm plotting P by V. Along x-axis, what am I plotting? I'm plotting 1 by V. So my dear students, what do I need to do? Here I've got P. What do I need? I need P by V. So how do I get P by V? I'll be dividing again this equation throughout by volume, so that this becomes P by V and this becomes 1 by V ka square. Now people tell me, this P by V you are plotting along y-axis. So instead of P by V, I'm writing y is equal. Instead of 1 by V, just 1 by V. This 1 by V you are plotting along x-axis. So instead of this 1 by V, I'll write x. But this is 1 by V ka square. So this x square. K I'm writing as such. Y is equal to kx square. Y is equal to kx square. Few minutes back only I told you it's going to be parabola opening upwards. It is going to be parabola opening upwards. Y is equal to kx square. Perfect. Y is equal to kx square. I believe this is clear to everyone, right? I believe this is clear to everyone. People, for example, you have to make a graph between, let's say you have to make a graph between log of P versus log of V. Log of P versus log of V, right? Now, first of all, log P you are plotting along y-axis. Log V you are plotting along x-axis, right? Our equation says that P is nothing but P is equal to K divided by V, right? In the equation, what do you have? In the equation, my dear students, we have got P. But what do I need? I need log of P. So what I'll be doing? What I'll be doing exactly? I will be multiplying this equation by log, so that this becomes log of P is equal to log of K divided by V. So I'll say log of P is equal to log of M by N is nothing but log of M minus log of N. Correct? So can I write this equation in this format? Log of P is equal to, first I'll write minus log V, then I'll write plus log K. Correct? Right, people? So this is basically minus 1 here. This is something which I can write as minus 1. So this is log P is equal to, so this is minus 1 multiplied by log V plus log of K. Now try to understand carefully. This log of P you are plotting along y-axis. Log of P you are plotting along y-axis, right? Log of V you are plotting along x-axis. So instead of log of V, I'll be writing x. This is your minus M, right? And this term is your intercept C. Sign here is plus. So y is equal to minus mx plus c. Y is equal to minus mx plus c. So the graph has to be like this, right? Minus mx plus c. Perfect. Minus mx plus c. Now, my dear students, you can understand one more thing here. What is the slope here? Slope is minus 1. What is the slope here? Slope is minus 1. Slope minus 1 means tan of theta minus 1. Slope minus 1 means tan of theta minus 1. When is tan of theta minus 1? When theta is 135 degree, right? So this angle theta has to be 135 degree over here. Perfect. I believe this is clear. Let me show you some other graphs. Guys, for example, I'm writing the equation here. V is equal to, volume is equal to constant multiplied by temperature in Kelvin. This is one equation. From where this equation comes, leave that aside. Nothing to do with that. I just want to show you the graphs. First thing. For example, let's say I need to plot a graph between volume versus this temperature in Kelvin. V versus T. V versus T. First of all, our equation says that V is equal to K multiplied by T. My dear students, volume you are plotting along y-axis, temperature you are plotting along x-axis. So instead of V, you will just write Y. Instead of T, you will write X. This automatically becomes your M. Y is equal to mx. Y is equal to mx. It's going to be a straight line passing through origin, right? Okay. Why it is dotted here? There is a logic for that. That I'll tell you some other time when I'll teach you thermodynamics, right? Okay. Just first of all, just make the graph. Done, understood? Okay. Now, for example, I need to make a graph between volume versus 1 upon temperature. V versus 1 upon T. V versus 1 upon T. So first of all, volume you are plotting along y-axis. 1 by T you are plotting along x-axis. What is my basic equation? Basic equation says that V is equal to K multiplied by T. But, am I plotting the graph between V versus T? No. I'm plotting the graph between V versus 1 by T. So my dear students, can I write this equation in this format? V is equal to K whole divided by. I'll write 1 by T like this. So that T comes up. Again, it becomes V is equal to KT. Correct? Now, this volume you're plotting along y-axis is equal to K divided by 1 by T you are plotting along x-axis. So instead of this 1 by T, you are writing X. So Y and X here are inversely proportional. And whenever you need to make a graph between two variables which are inversely proportional to each other, the nature of the graph is hyperbola, you know it. Right? It's hyperbola, you know it. Perfect. For example, let's say you have to make a graph between Vt versus T square. Vt versus T square. How you are going to make it? First of all, along y-axis, what do you need? You need Vt. Along x-axis, what do you need? You need T square. What is our basic equation? Basic equation says that V is equal to Kt. But do I need V here? No. What do I need? I need Vt. I need Vt. So people, tell me one thing. How do I get Vt here? I'll be multiplying this equation throughout by temperature. Right? If I multiply this equation throughout by temperature, this becomes Vt is equal to Kt square. Vt is equal to Kt square. Right? Vt is equal to Kt square. Perfect? Vt is equal to Kt square. Can you let me know now the nature of the graph? Can you let me know the nature of the graph, people, quickly? Quickly in the chats. Quickly in the chats. Quickly in the chats. Quickly in the chats. So basically, Vt, I'm plotting along y-axis. So instead of Vt, I'll be writing y. T square, you are plotting along x-axis. So instead of T square, you'll be writing x, right? So this K automatically becomes your M. Y is equal to mx. Few minutes back only I told you. Y is equal to mx is going to be straight line passing through the origin, right? So this is going to be the straight line passing through the origin. I believe this is clear to everyone. Okay. Moving ahead. What do you think about this particular graph? Can you make it? Let's say I'm plotting a graph between Vt versus temperature. Vt versus T. My dear students, if you think logically, what is my basic equation? Basic equation is V is equal to K multiplied by T. But what do I need? I do not need volume here. I need V multiplied by T here, right? So how do I get Vt here? Multiply again throughout by temperature. It becomes Vt is equal to Kt square, right? Vt is equal to Kt square. Now tell me one thing. This Vt you are plotting along what? This Vt you are plotting along y-axis is equal. Now along x-axis you are plotting just T. So instead of this T only you are writing x. So this is T ka square, x ka square. So y is equal to kx square. Y is equal to kx square. Few minutes back only I told you. It is going to be parabola opening upwards, right? Simple and basic stuff. Simple and basic stuff, my dear students. Yeah? Simple and basic stuff. Perfect. Can you let me know the nature of the curve between log of V and log of T? The basic equation you already know. What is that? V is nothing but K multiplied by T. But along y-axis, what am I plotting? Log V. Along x-axis, what am I plotting? Log T. Tell me one thing. Over here, you have got V is equal to KT. But what do I need? I need log V here. I need log T here. So how do I get it? I'll be multiplying this equation throughout by log, right? So it becomes log of V is equal to log of K multiplied by T, right? So I can say, my dear students, log of V is equal to log of M into N. Log of M into N is nothing but log of M plus log of N. Perfect. Log of M into N is nothing but log of M plus log of N. So you can write it like this. Log of V is equal to, first you can write log of T, then you can write log of K. Won't make a difference. There is nothing in front of log T, that means there is 1. Perfect. So log of V you are plotting along y-axis. Log of V you are plotting along y-axis. Log of T you are plotting along x-axis. This is going to be your C intercept. Over here the sign is positive and this 1 is basically M. So y is equal to mx plus c. Y is equal to mx plus c. It's going to be a straight line like this. It's going to be a straight line like this, yeah? Now people, look carefully. What is the value of M here? The value of M right here is 1. The value of M right here is 1. If the value of M is 1, what does that mean? That means tan of theta is equal to 1. And when is tan of theta 1? When theta is nothing but 45 degree, right? And what is theta? I told you a few minutes back. Theta is the angle which this straight line makes with the positive x-axis in the anti-clockwise direction. So theta here is 45 degree. And if I ask you what about this particular intercept? Intercept means C. So C value over here is nothing but log of K. I believe this is clear to everyone. I believe this is clear to everyone, yeah? Simple. Simple, people. Is it clear? Say yes or no in the chats quickly. Say yes or no in the chats quickly, people. Perfect. All right. Now you should be in a position to make certain graphs. For example, I'm giving you the equation P is equal to K multiplied by T. This is the equation which I'm giving you. Okay. Can you let me know these particular graphs? Pressure versus temperature. This is the first graph which I want you guys to make. Second pressure versus 1 upon temperature. Second graph which I want you guys to make. Third one, for example, PT versus T square. This is one more graph which I want you guys to make. The next one is nothing but PT versus T. This is one more graph which I want you guys to make. Similarly, I want you to make this particular graph P versus under root of T as well. P versus root T. At the end, I would want you guys to make this particular graph. That is log of P versus log of T. So you should be in a position to make these graphs over here now. Yeah? You should be in a position to make these graphs over here. Easily you can do it. I believe easily you can do it now. My dear students, understand carefully. You have got the equation P is equal to KT, right? P is equal to KT. This is my basic equation. Perfect. So pressure you are plotting along y-axis, temperature along x-axis. So instead of P, you are going to write y. This is your x. This is your m. Y is equal to mx is going to be a straight line passing through origin. Over here, I'm showing a bit of a dotted and then a straight line. Why dotted? There's a logic for that. I told you already that's something which I'll teach you in thermodynamics. Yeah? Perfect. Done. Look at the next one. Pressure versus 1 by temperature. Pressure you are plotting along y-axis. 1 by temperature you are plotting along x-axis. 1 by temperature you are plotting along x-axis. Now, my dear students, if you think logically, what is your P? I mean, what is your basic equation? Basic equation is P is equal to KT. P is equal to KT. But what am I plotting? I'm plotting pressure versus 1 upon temperature. So I'll be writing the same equation like this. P is equal to K. This I'm writing 1 by T. Does it make a difference? Nope. Yeah, it's not going to make any sort of difference here. Anyways, T comes up, it becomes P is equal to KT. Now, pressure you are plotting along y-axis is equal to K divided by 1 by T. Over here, you are plotting along x-axis. Yes. Now, you have got two variables which are inversely proportional to each other. And you know, whenever you need to make a graph between two variables which are inversely proportional to each other, the nature of the curve has to be hyperbola. Yeah, we know it. Done and dusted. Next graph, PT versus T square. PT you are plotting along y-axis. T square you are plotting along x-axis. Now try to understand. So over here, if I multiply this equation by temperature, it becomes PT is equal to KT square. This PT you are plotting along y-axis. T square you are plotting along x-axis. K becomes M. Y is equal to mx is a straight line. Done and dusted. Yeah. Perfect. Now, the next graph, PT versus T. PT versus T. PT versus T. My dear students, PT you are plotting along y-axis. Only T you are plotting along x-axis. Only T you are plotting along x-axis. So instead of this T, I'm writing x. So this is T ka square, x ka square. Y is equal to kx square. You know, parabola opening upwards. Parabola opening upwards. Done and dusted, right? What do you think about this one? P versus root T. What do you think about this one? P versus root T. Again, write the basic equation. What is my basic equation? Basic equation is equal to P is equal to KT, right? Over here, I need to plot a curve between pressure and square root of temperature. Pressure and square root of temperature. So, what I'll try to do, I'll write it like this. P is equal to K. Instead of T, I'll write under root of T ka square. Does it make a difference? No? Yeah? Instead of T, I wrote under root of T ka square. Now, P you are plotting along y-axis. Root of T you are plotting along x-axis. So, instead of root T, you are writing x. So, this x ka square. Y is equal to kx square. Done and dusted, right? Parabola opening upwards. Correct? Now, log P versus log T. Log P versus log T. So, log P you are plotting along y-axis. Log T you are plotting along x-axis. Yeah? So, people try to understand. So, I'll be multiplying this equation over here with log. So, log of P is equal to log of m into n is basically log of m plus log of n. Correct? Log of m into n is basically log of m plus log of n. You know it. So I can write this particular equation in this format as well. Log P is equal. First I'll write log T. Then I'll write log K. Does it make a difference? No way. Yeah. So log P, you're plotting along y-axis. Log T, you're plotting along x-axis. This becomes your intercept C. Sign here is positive. Over here there's nothing. That means 1. Right? So m value here is 1. Y is equal to mx plus c. Y is equal to mx plus c. Yeah? Perfect, people? Am I clear? Am I clear? I believe yes. Okay. See, guys. Do you remember do you remember how do you calculate radius of nth Bohr's orbit? Do you remember how do we calculate radius of nth Bohr's orbit? You must be knowing. Radius of nth Bohr's orbit is equal to r naught n square divided by z. R naught n square divided by z. Right? This is the formula. This is the formula. Radius of nth Bohr's orbit, r naught n square divided by z. Perfect? I'm assuming if for example, z is constant. I'm assuming z is constant. Okay? I'm assuming z is constant. Now, I want you to draw certain graphs. Tell me the graph between Rn, radius of nth Bohr's orbit, versus n square. First graph. Tell me the second graph. That's going to be radius of nth Bohr's orbit versus n. Can you let me know about these two graphs quickly? Now, you should be able to solve them. You should be able to answer these questions. I've kept z constant, right? Z is constant. See guys, I can write the same equation in this format. Rn is equal to r naught divided by z multiplied by n square. Correct? If you look at the first equation, along y-axis you are plotting radius of nth Bohr's orbit. Along x-axis you are plotting n square. Right? So this becomes your y. N square becomes your x. And this whole term becomes your m. So y is equal to mx. It has to be a straight line like this. Simple. Right, people? Now, Rn versus n. Rn versus n. Try to understand. Rn versus n. First of all, this radius of nth Bohr's orbit you are plotting along y-axis. This n you are plotting along x-axis, right? So instead of Rn, I'm writing y. You're plotting radius of nth Bohr's orbit along y-axis. Okay? Now, people, n you are plotting along x-axis. N you are plotting along x-axis. So instead of n, I'm writing x. So this n ka square, x ka square, right? This becomes your constant k. Y is equal to kx square. Is a parabola opening upwards. Few minutes back only I told you, right? Few minutes back only I told you. Done and dusted. Perfect. All right. One more thing, which I would want to tell you over here. What is that? Just try to understand. For example, if I say, if n is constant, if for example n is constant, which tells you that n square is also constant. So n square I'm keeping constant. Now, keeping n square constant Tell me the graphs between these two. Radius of nth Bohr's orbit versus Z, and then tell me radius of nth Bohr's orbit. Radius of nth Bohr's orbit versus 1 by Z. Can you make these graphs? Can you make these graphs, people? Again, you should be in a position to make these graphs on your own. See, you know, radius of nth Bohr's orbit, I'm writing like this. Rn is equal to R0 n square divided by Z. So I can write it 1 by Z. Okay. So radius of nth Bohr's orbit, you're plotting along y-axis. This is your x-axis. Perfect. So Rn and Z, they are inversely proportional. And whenever you're supposed to make a graph between two variables which are inversely proportional, it's going to be hyperbola, right? Done. Second, Rn versus 1 by Z. Rn you are plotting along y-axis. 1 by Z you are plotting along x-axis. So instead of 1 by Z, I'm writing x. This whole becomes your m. Y is equal to mx. Straight line. If I ask you what about the slope of this curve? What about the slope of this curve? Slope means basically m. And m value over here you can check. M is nothing. It is R0 n square. Perfect. That's how you make these graphs. So do you think if you know the equation, you can make any graph from now onwards? Yeah? Okay. For example, you must have studied this particular result somewhere. Energy of the electron in the nth Bohr's orbit is equal to minus 13.6 Z square divided by n square electron volts. Have you studied this particular result somewhere? You would have, I believe. Yeah? You would have, I believe. Now, my dear students, try to understand carefully. If, for example, n is constant, if n is constant, that tells you that n square is also constant. Okay? Perfect. Now, two graphs I would want you guys to make here. One between energy of nth Bohr's orbit versus Z. This is the first graph. Second graph. Energy of the nth Bohr's orbit versus Z square. Okay? Right, people? Now try to understand how exactly I'm going to make it. See how exactly I'm going to make it. First of all, I'm going to write the same equation in this format. En is equal minus 13.6 divided by n square, and Z square I'm writing separately. I can do that. Yeah, I can do that easily. Now tell me, this En you're plotting along y-axis. This you are plotting along x-axis. So En you are plotting along y-axis, right? Z you are plotting along x-axis. But this is Z ka square, so x ka square. This becomes your k. Right? Y is equal to kx square. It's parabola opening upwards. But here you have got minus sign. If there was no minus here, the graph should have been like this. Parabola opening upwards. If there was no minus sign, but there's a minus sign. So what you'll be doing? Remove this graph. And make the same graph in this particular quadrant. Done? Because there was a negative sign. Perfect. Now second one. En versus Z square. En you are plotting along y-axis. Z square you are plotting along x-axis. So this becomes your m. Y is equal to mx. Y is equal to mx is a straight line, right? Y is equal to mx is a straight line. But you know, there's a minus sign here. If there's a minus sign, this straight line you'll make in the fourth quadrant here. Perfect. Done? Done, people? It was supposed to be like this if it was y is equal to mx, right? But it's minus mx now. So you'll be making the same graph in the fourth quadrant. I believe I'm clear. Okay. Perfect. All right. For example, if I do one more thing, let's say if Z is constant. If Z is constant, what does that mean? That means Z square is also constant. Okay? That means Z square is also constant. Tell me one thing now. If I want to make a graph between energy of nth Bohr's orbit versus n square. versus n square versus n square. What is going to be the nature of the curve? Directly you can make it now. En along y-axis, n square along x-axis. So y and x inversely proportional. The graph has to be hyperbola, but there is a minus sign. It has to be like this, hyperbola, but there is a minus sign. So that hyperbola you'll make in this quadrant. Done? Done, people? So I believe these sort of questions you can easily do. These sort of graphs you can easily make if they are asked, right? Now, there are a lot of graphs in the chapter. Okay, one graph here. See, you would have studied this particular equation somewhere. Kp is equal to Kc RT raised power delta Ng. Have you studied this equation ever in the chapter equilibrium? You would have. Okay. For example, if I multiply this equation with log, it becomes log of Kp is equal to log of m into n becomes log of m plus log of n. Log of m plus log of n, right? So you can say log of Kp is nothing but log of Kc plus log of m raised power n, n log m, so delta Ng comes to the front, then it's going to be log of Rt, correct? For example, I am telling you, make a graph. I'm asking you to make a graph between log of Kp versus, for example, log of Rt. Can you make this graph on your own? Can you make this graph on your own? You should be in a position to make it. Now, you know how to make the graphs. Okay? Log of Kp, you're plotting along y-axis. Log of Rt along x-axis. So, log of Kp is your y. Log of Rt is your x. So, this term is going to be your m. This term is going to be your c. Sinus plus. So, y is equal to mx plus c. Y is equal to mx plus c. Straight line. If I ask you what about the slope of this curve? Slope means m. What is m here? M is nothing but delta Ng. Okay. If I ask you what is the intercept here? Intercept means c. What is c here? C is log of Kc. Sorted? Right? Perfect. Now there are few equations which you would have studied in the chemical kinetics as well. Yeah? In your chemical kinetics, you would have studied few equations. For example, I hope you remember zero order reactions. In zero order reactions, you would have made there are certain equations which you must be knowing. One is AT is equal to A naught minus KT. Does not matter whether you remember it or not. Okay, AT is equal to A naught minus KT. Second is T half is equal to A naught divided by 2K. This is one more equation in the zero order reactions. Okay. Perfect. T 100% is equal to A naught divided by K. Alpha is equal to KT divided by A naught. These are few equations which we are going to study in kinetics in detail, right? You need not worry about these equations from where they come. Leave that aside. I just want to show you how you can make graphs on your own. For example, let's say you have to make a graph between AT versus T. AT versus T. So AT you are plotting along y-axis, right? And T you are plotting along x-axis. So this becomes your M, sign here is minus, and this becomes C, right? And before C it is plus. Y is equal to minus mx plus C. Y is equal to minus mx plus C. The graph is like this. Minus mx plus C. The graph is like this. If I ask you what about the slope of this graph? Slope of this graph is basically minus K. And what about the intercept? What about this distance? Intercept. Intercept is basically C, and C is nothing but A naught. Done? C is nothing but A naught. Yeah? Perfect? Perfect, people? For example, you have to plot a graph between, let's say you have to plot a graph between T half versus A naught. Let's say you have to plot a graph between T half and A naught. Hey guys, you know the equation. T half is equal to what? A naught by 2K. So I'll write 1 by 2K over here. Then over here I'm writing A naught. I can write it like this. Yeah. So people, T half you're plotting along y-axis. A naught you're plotting along x-axis. So instead of T half you can write y. Instead of A naught you can write x. This whole term you can write m. Y is equal to mx. It's going to be a straight line. If I ask you what about the slope of this graph? Slope means m. M is nothing but 1 upon 2K. M is nothing but 1 upon 2k. Done? Right? Okay. Slope here is minus k. It's not k, it's minus k. Perfect, people? Similarly, for example, if I ask you to make a graph between t 100%, and a naught, t 100% and a naught. You know your t 100% is equal. You can write it like this: 1 by k. Then you can write a naught separately. So t 100% plotting along y-axis, a naught plotting along x-axis. So t 100% y-axis, a naught x-axis. This 1 by k becomes your m. Y is equal to mx, straight line. If you talk about the slope, slope means m. M is nothing but 1 upon k. Done? Done, people? Perfect. Similarly, let's say you need to make a graph between alpha versus a naught. Alpha versus what? Alpha versus a naught. Can you let me know the nature of the curve between alpha and a naught? You know the equation already. Alpha and a naught, they are inversely proportional. If they are inversely proportional, the nature of the curve is going to be hyperbola. So this is hyperbola. Correct? This is hyperbola. So easily you can draw them. Easily you can draw them. For example, there are some equations which I'm going to write again, and you will let me know about the nature of the graphs. Okay, you will let me know about the nature of the graphs. Okay, this equation I believe you must have studied somewhere. Ln of AT is equal to ln of A naught minus KT. This is something which you would have studied in your first order kinetics. If not, anyways, we are going to study this all in the batch, in the Phoenix 2.0 NEET English batch. Okay, you need not to worry about that. This is one equation. Second equation, log of AT is equal to log of A naught minus K divided by 2.303 multiplied by T. This is one more equation. This is one more equation. Okay, one more equation, people. Right? For example, I'm writing this. T half is equal to 0.693 upon K. One more equation I'm writing. One more equation I'm writing. Okay. For example, I'm writing R is equal to K, concentration of reactant raised power 1. One more equation I'm writing. Now I'm asking you the graph. You are going to let me know in the chat. I'm asking you what will be the nature of the graphs. For example, you have to plot a graph between ln of AT versus T. Tell me the graph here. For example, you have to plot a graph between log of AT versus T. Tell me the nature of the graph here. For example, you have to plot a graph between T half versus A naught. Tell me the graph here. For example, you have to plot a graph between rate versus concentration of reactant. You need to tell me the nature of all these graphs. Quick. Quick, people. Quick, everyone. Everyone in the chats. Everyone in the chats. Guys, you should be able to make these graphs now. And quickly, you're supposed to tell me the nature of these graphs. First thing, if you see quickly, ln AT you're plotting along y-axis, time you're plotting along x-axis. So ln AT, y-axis, T, x-axis, this is your M, this is your C, sine is minus, y is equal to minus mx plus c. This is y is equal to minus mx plus c. What about the slope of this graph? Slope is basically minus k over here. What about this intercept? Intercept is basically c, and c is nothing but ln of a naught. Simple. This you are plotting along y-axis, this you are plotting along x-axis. So log of AT, y, t, x-axis, this particular term, m, sine minus, this is c, y is equal to minus mx plus c, again straight line. What about the slope here? Slope comes out to be minus k upon 2.303, right? See how fast you can make these graphs now. What about the intercept? Intercept is basically log of a naught here. Simple. Right? Right, people? Gopinath, that is when it is minus c. When it is minus c. Okay? Alright, T half versus A naught. T half versus A naught. Do you see A naught anywhere? No. So T half is independent of A naught. T half is independent of A naught. So T half, if is independent of A naught, it is never going to change. On changing the A naught, T half value is not going to change. Simple. Perfect. Similarly, rate versus concentration of reactant. So this is you're plotting along y-axis, this x-axis. So this is your y, this is your x, this is your m. Y is equal to mx. Straight line. Done and dusted. Done and dusted. Can you tell me the answer of this particular question? I'm giving the equation. Equation is, for example, k is equal to a, k is equal to a, e raised power minus ea by rt, right? Tell me what is going to be the nature of the graph for the, tell me what is going to be the nature of the graph if I plot between log of k and 1 by t. Log of k and 1 by t. Can you check it out? Can you check it out? Log k versus 1 by t. See guys, first of all, log k you are plotting along y-axis and 1 by t you are plotting along x-axis, right? But if you think logically, do you see log k here? No. My equation is nothing but k is equal to a e raised power minus ea divided by rt, right? So if I multiply this equation by ln, so it becomes ln k is equal to ln a e raised power minus ea divided by rt, correct? So this is your ln of k is equal to ln of m into n. Ln of m into n is ln of m plus ln of n. N is nothing but this value. So finally I get the equation ln of k is equal to ln of a. Ln of e. Ln of e is 1. So this becomes finally minus ea divided by r multiplied by 1 upon t. So basically this equation can be reduced in this particular format. Okay, in this particular format. Now you should be knowing ln k. Ln k is nothing but 2.303 log. Ln is nothing, 2.303 log. Ln is nothing, that is 2.303 log. So instead of ln k, I'll be writing 2.303 log k. Instead of ln of a, I'll be writing 2.303 log a. And later on, if I divide throughout by 2.303, this becomes log of k is equal to log of a minus ea divided by 2.303 r. And this is 1 upon t. Now tell me the graph. Now tell me the graph. What is going to be the graph here? Quick. What is going to be the graph here? Quick. Quickly, people. Quickly, everyone in the chats. Done? Done? Log k you are plotting along y-axis, 1 by t you are plotting along x-axis. This is your m, sign here is minus, this becomes c, y is equal to minus mx plus c, y is equal to minus mx plus c is a straight line like this. So its slope is nothing but, it'll be minus a divided by 2.303 r, 2.303 r, and this particular intercept is basically c, c is nothing but log of a, right? So guys, like this, whatever graphs are asked, you can make any graph from now onwards, okay? You can make any graph from now onwards. Perfect. So I believe this session is definitely beneficial for all of you. Yeah? Is that? Let me know in the chats. So can you make all the graphs, whatever, if you just know the equation, can you make all the graphs from now onwards in chemistry? Say yes or no honestly in the chats. Say yes or no honestly in the chats. Right? And I would want you guys to let me know in the comment section at the end of the session whether this session was beneficial for you or not. And all those students who still want to be the part of Phoenix 2.0 NEET English batch, you guys are most welcome. The batch has started 2 days back, right? Still there is 50% off, even more than that. Link is there in the description box of the video. Click on the link, get added and get trained by your complete Unacademy NEET English team, which is me, Ambika ma'am, Yawar sir, HSP sir, right? We all are personally going to train you throughout this particular year. The best part in the batch is going to be your complete syllabus of physics, chemistry, biology will be done and dusted in just 6 months. After that, 2 months for revision. No need to worry about the study material. No need to worry about the DPPs. Every single thing we are going to provide from here. On every Sunday, we'll make you write the tests. Whatever portions we will complete in a week, Sunday of that week, you'll have to write the test. So we are going to analyze your scores. There'll be one-on-one mentorship sessions with us, right? So be the part of the batch. Be the part of the batch as soon as possible. There's a link in the description box of the video. Let me quickly show you how you can enroll into the batch, which started just 2 days back. Over here, you can find a link. 1-year subscription, click on the link. When you click on the link, over here, you can choose plus or iconic, right? Click on 12 months, proceed to pay, put your mobile number, or you can continue with your email ID. And eventually, right now, you are getting the batch only at the rate of 4,999, right? And my dear students, trust me, this is the finest batch. This is going to be the finest batch across the country when it comes to the NEET 2025 examination. So whether you are a dropper, whether you are writing the NEET for the first time, second time, does not matter. Every single chapter here in this batch, we are starting from the basics, from the scratch. Okay? Every single chapter, be it in physics, chemistry, or in biology. So get enrolled as soon as possible so that you can join us from tomorrow in the live session. Okay? Perfect. So with this, I'll be taking a leave. I believe all of you liked the session, and do let me know in the comment section of this particular video how beneficial this session was. And definitely after seeing your comments, that is something which is going to make me happy after the tiring day. Yeah, I've started my day exactly at 7. This was my last class, and in between I've taken one break exactly at 1:30 till 2:30. The whole day I was teaching. So this was the last class. Take care. God bless you all. Bye-bye. See you in the batch. Take care, guys.